Welcome to the Board of Directors meeting for the Senior Council on Aging. Today is August 14th, and we're starting the meeting at 6:05. And the first thing that I'd like to do is explain that just for the month of August, my name is Dale Baylog, and...
After that, it's not Dale Baylog?
Pardon?
It's not
No.
Dale Baylog?
Just for the month of August, I'm the chairperson, and then Joan Powers will be the consistent chairperson for the Board of Directors.
Yeah.
It's elected, so
We
that's...
have to put her up at old business. That's
Yeah.
where we have, that, Joe, that's where we have to put you up, according to what I've been able to find out.
Well, something tells me that she will be elected. And so the first thing that we should do, of course, is introduce the board. And I think it would be appropriate, we have a new board member, Geraldine Quinlan. Welcome, Geraldine.
Thank you.
This is her first meeting, and we're happy to have Geraldine on board. Do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself before we move on to...
Sure.
Yeah.
My field is gerontology. I teach at UMass Boston in the undergraduate gerontology program there. And I am a doctoral candidate, so I'm also a student at UMass. And my background is in health education. And
We couldn't ask for a more qualified board member. Because I knew all that anyway. And so if we start with Florence, we'll introduce ourselves.
Okay, I'm Florence Choate.
Richard Mitchell?
Joan Powers.
Jim Harmon.
Dale Baylor.
Geraldine Quinlan.
Meg Stillman.
Marty O'Toole, Board of Selectmen.
Marty O'Toole is our liaison, with the Board of Selectmen. So, when he can make the meetings, he will. He may be here most of the time, but not every meeting, for those of you who are watching at home. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is approve the minutes from the July 17th board meeting. Has everybody read the minutes from the July 17th meeting?
Yep.
Thank you for the answer. Okay,
Move to approve?
does anybody want to make a motion?
Sure.
Jim, are you approving?
Yes.
Do you want to make a motion
Make a motion
to approve
to approve
the minutes?
the minutes.
So Jim's making a motion to approve, we need to have it seconded. Okay. All right, so, I let the cat out of the bag, but at the July meeting, we couldn't come to any determination for a person who would or could take on being chairperson for the board. And at that point in the July meeting, we were going to have rotating chair people. And it's not the ideal situation, of course, but, during the July board meeting, that was the only solution we could come up with at that time. However, in the interim, thankfully, Joan Powers has rethought the issue, and Joan would like to take on the responsibilities of being the chairperson, along with her many other activities in volunteering for the town. But here again, we couldn't ask for a more qualified person. So, is there anyone besides Joan who's rethought the possibility of becoming a chairperson?
You mean an officer?
Uh,
An officer, yeah.
A chairperson?
Oh, a chairperson.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
This is what we're talking about,
Oh,
right?
okay, yeah.
Is there anyone else interested in this position besides Joan?
You got to be nominated, you.
I know, but before we nominate you, if there's anybody else. Okay, so, I nominate, very happily, I nominate Joan Powers to take on the position of chairperson. for the Board of Directors for the Senior Council on Aging. Who would like to second that?
I second that.
Second.
All right. So what do you think, Joan?
You gotta vote on it, too.
Oh, okay.
Lucky some no's up here.
So we need a vote. Aye. Aye, aye,
Aye.
aye. Yes, yes, yes. Okay. So what do you think, Joan?
Okay.
Do you have any little
Well,
words
no, I just
with?
don't think it isn't proper to have a board and have people take turns as being chairman. That doesn't, it doesn't go. You have
Can
to-
I add to that? One of the things, and I agree with Joan, but one of the things that the board didn't realize when they made that decision was when Pam became chair, she became chair for that very reason. When Joe Armstrong resigned as the chair of the board, there wasn't anyone on the board willing to take that position at that time. So it was going to be every other month, every month, somebody was going to be different. We were told by the town that would not stand, we would not be allowed to do that. So that's why, Pam stepped up and became the board chairman for that reason. She did an excellent job. She was an excellent chairman, and she worked very hard and went through a lot of issues and right by my side for 6 years, and I just, can't say enough for her. We were very, very fortunate to have her. But for future reference, there is no board that is going to be allowed to stand without a chair. So we don't have an option. So I'm especially grateful for Joan taking it for that, especially for that reason.
Since she does have so many responsibilities, besides taking on this. So, at the last meeting, we determined, Audrey Reedy would be the vice chairperson, and the clerical position hadn't really been filled. So, now we have to figure out about the clerical position, because we were gonna also do that on a rotating basis. And, so we have to talk about that. Does anybody want to take on that?
Can I talk about that for a minute?
Sure.
What has happened, with the board since Pam strictly went into the film. She used the film and took notes from the film, which is very difficult and time consuming. For the first year and a half, that was done by one of my staff. Because we have such a small staff, and it took so much of her time, and she did an excellent job. It just became, she just couldn't do it anymore. There just is no extra time in the Scituate Council of Aging for anything other. We can barely keep our heads above water now. So that was something that Pam, for the last 4 months, has had to do, take the notes from the filming. At the beginning, I know that's very labor intensive. My suggestion would be that if anyone steps forward, what they do is they take notes during the meeting, and then they come back and they can watch the film, and just, if they see anything that they had forgotten, they can make a notation and put it in, afterthought. That's less time involved, because you're turning it on, you're turning it off. I've done it. I've done the translation that way, and it's extremely labor intensive and hard. So, that's something that I think we could get around that by doing that. So, I just want to throw that out. I don't feel it's necessary to do the whole thing. I think you can get enough really solid notes during the procedure. If you don't take every two. down, and that becomes very, and then you can just check your notes with watching the film. Okay, thank you.
Oh, no, thank you. So, do we have anybody interested? We're
Is
gonna have
that a
to phone-
position that can rotate?
It is a position that can rotate, but I'll tell you, the one thing about rotating is that sometimes people don't take the notes or don't do the thing when they're at a board meeting without minutes. And that's happened in the past. So, I think what we can do is, I think maybe at the end of the meeting, everyone can think about it during the meeting, maybe at the end of the meeting, if you don't mind, you could bring it up again and see.
But
if
if they
they- I mean,
don't,
not everybody is here.
if they don't have a computer, if someone does the notes and writes it up, I wouldn't mind copying it and put it on the computer and sending it out. But I just don't have the time, and I don't think the chairman really should be the secretary too, anyway.
No, I don't think so either. Definitely.
No, that's.
But I don't mind if someone does it, and then if they don't have a computer, I can put it on the computer. What's what I did, I took notes last time, mainly that's what I did with notes, and then I just listened to that, like Florence said, to see if there was anything I could add.
Well, we can bring it up again.
Does the secretary have to be on the board? Is it something that we could reach out to the high school to see if there'd be a high school student that would be willing to do community service?
Oh, that's a really,
No?
no. Let me say, that's a nowhere process, it
To get
really
somebody to
is.
commit every month
Yeah.
for school,
Yeah.
because they have all kinds of things going on.
No. It needs to be like anything else, if you're gonna do it catch as catch can, that's what you're gonna get for a result. And, I know it's asking, I know everybody's busy, I know that happens. But, as I said, other than, and we can't afford to pay someone to come in and take notes. We really can't, and I don't think it would get approved by the town manager. I really don't. I can't see sending that IPO up to Tricia. So,
Well, I will take the position, but, if I don't have a chance to come in and review the film, I'll do the notes, to the best of my abilities.
well, why don't you do this? Why don't you do the
But I'm gonna be
notes and
starting my
bring it to
memoir
me?
class and,
Why don't you do this? You can bring it to me. I have, really, even in my aging, I still have I've been blessed with a really good memory, always have. And so, I can do that, and I will have reviewed the film before anyway, so just give it to me, I will do it. After you write the notes, okay?
okay?
So I make a motion that we.
Well, I feel like I got railroaded, mentally, I'm living with the guilt here, I better step forward, guilt is, it's just that, as long as Joan or somebody is willing to, type it up on the computer, because.
Well, we can do that.
Yeah.
We'll do that.
Can I just ask a quick question? Is this a full,
No.
because I'm just
Audrey-
wondering, if maybe it's
No,
other
Audrey
people.
Reedy and
Okay.
Jerry and Debbie Young is, and Debbie, have you seen the selectmen yet?
No.
Debbie Young has filled out an application to be on the board.
Okay,
We do need to have that position filled. And Debbie has sent in her application and she's waiting to be seen. And then at that point, you're willing to accept, right, Deb?
I think so. We'll see at the end of tonight.
But, I mean,
Probably, I mean,
I know Debbie to be very, she's very supportive. She takes exercises here, and she's very supportive of seniors, so, you know, I can recommend you, Debbie, if you need a recommendation, I'll
Right,
give you
thank-
one. She
thank
does a
you.
lot for the VFW, so
Thank you.
anyhow. All right.
Okay, so then,
The only reason I asked the
So
question
we're
is,
missing 3 people.
is it premature to worry about the secretary position? Could you just rotate it for now until you get your actual full board together?
We've got Jerry, we've got Audrey, who's
Well, Audrey
already got
is
a
already good.
position. You know, I don't recommend that new board members take positions like that, because they have enough on their
You
plate.
could have a
to
really
be
good
doing.
note taker coming on board, though, you don't know, I mean, I'm just
Yeah.
saying.
Now, who's a good note taker?
Oh, I don't know, Debbie might be, we don't know.
Well. Well, we can do
She's
that.
got to throw something in.
Dale, if you want to do the notes for today, and we can table it till next week, there's nothing that says we can't, you know.
okay,
So what table
we'll table it. And,
If you do the notes, then I'll review them and I'll get them
So
typed
your
up.
chairman's take, chairperson's take care, vice chair is good, treasurer is good.
the treasurer position is like, not,
Yeah,
it's
the
just a formality.
secretary's a little difficult, but you just have to, you know, some people pay so much attention to detail as they're taking notes, you write down
Right.
everything. If you can just take it and just put it into a sentence, it says like what we just
Yeah.
discussed in the last 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Was basically, you know, trying to appoint a secretary. So I mean,
Well,
if you were
well,
just to say
part,
something.
yeah, part of the guilt that's hanging over my decision here is that, you know, some of the people know, you know, not everyone, but Florence, that I did major in English and I teach a memoir writing course. I mean, I would be, you know, a logical choice.
They should never have done away with shorthand in schools.
I
True,
never
it's
did
true.
take
They
that.
still have it, have you not seen texts?
Well,
It's a
I've
whole
been out
new
for a while,
language
but-
of this
Oh, yeah, that's
whole
it,
new
yeah,
language.
Yeah, it's hard to learn not to speak English.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
The worst thing is though, sometimes
Or
I
construct
can't
a
read my own
sentence.
writing, you know,
Yeah.
when I'm writing fast, but I'll make a point to, you
I can read your writing.
know.
I read your notes from the memoir class, so
Yes,
I can
that's
read your
right.
writing.
Okay, so we'll table that, decision for now. Debbie?
That's fine. No,
Oh, Debbie can't go, you didn't recommend it for the board.
Well,
members.
we'll see if Debbie wants it. I mean, you know, I certainly trust her. I've seen her writing. She does very, you know, she's a very
Well, she
strong
wrote that
writer
article
to
for the
begin with.
Mariner, so.
Yeah, she does. She writes occasionally for the Mariner, and she does a good job.
thank you.
She's a strong writer.
Okay, so we will table, the secretary clerical position. And I will do the notes for the month of August's meeting. And now that brings us, to, number 4 on the agenda, staff and director reports.
Could I have a copy of that, because I
Oh,
gave
sure.
mine away. No, keep it. I'll give another one, thank you.
And we do welcome Florence back. She was unable to attend July's meeting, and she was greatly missed. And when she told me that she'd be able to make it for the August meeting, I was very happy to hear that. And we're all happy to have her, you know, back at the senior center, the Senior Council on Aging, back to her old self. So she's going to give us the director's
For
report now.
better or for worse.
For better.
Before I even start, I'd like to say that I would like to thank all of the people who were so, you know, I received over 200 cards and well wishes. I mean, really. They were astounded in the rehab. They kept saying, "Who are you? Are you somebody famous?" I said, "No."
Famous
So-
in Scituate.
So I mean, that really, you know, I can't tell you how much that meant to me. So, and I'm still getting calls, and I want you to know I am definitely on the mend. Before I start the report, I do have something to say. I am going to be leaving in December. And the 20th is going to be my last day. And I am going to be leaving. It's time. I've met a lot of my goals here. And it's time. And I have some family issues, and some of my family, one of my family members has some serious health issues, and that's got to take priority. So, anyway,
Let's start off with bad news.
I know. Well, hopefully you all think it's bad news. Thankfully, this is my report. Summer is slow in the Council of Aging. Most programs are not running for the summer because of the poor turnout. However, staff vacation time often leaves us short of staff, and a couple with staff members long out for a protracted period of time, as I was this summer. I was out almost 5 weeks. It is difficult for staff to keep afloat. Summer is also the time the formula grant is due, and it must be in for the fall funding this year. And we are expecting $38,000 from the state this year, based on our census, which is our census, and I just got new census from the town, and they're up quite a bit from this. So I don't know how accurate the federal census, and it was 2010. So they're going by that census, which is 4,334 seniors. The state gave us $8 per senior, so they came to $38,000. So it's money that that's always needed, because it allows us to do some of the programming and some of the things that we could not afford to do on our budget. So. And it also allows us to pay for a part-time person for 20 hours a week. We couldn't, we need that desperately for outreach. During the summer, we also had to complete the yearly the yearly accounting for the state. This is enormous. This is a lot of work. It's like 14 pages, and so we have to review all of our data. We have to have our numbers and everything. So this is what happens during the summer. And we were also in the middle of doing staff evaluations for the town. So we're just, my being out has really put us way, way behind. The newsletter is also due in August for September and October. And as it is our main source of notifying seniors of new programs and events, it is to everyone's advantage to get it out as early as possible. And I have to say, those seniors, you're going to have to be a little patient this month, because it's going to be a little late. And it's just, I do the newsletter by myself, and then it's edited by staff. So it's just one other thing that we have to do. And I enjoy doing it, don't get me wrong, but sometimes it's a crunch. These facts have left us behind on all things, with the exception of the formula grant, which went out on schedule, thank God, August 9th. To add to our woes this month, Nancy LaFosse, our 10-year social service coordinator, has left to go to another center. And we're happy for Nancy. She's able to get 10 hours more a week. And she has 2 children in college, so she needs the money. And she is going to be the assistant director of Elder Affairs in Cohasset. So we're very happy for her. She's going to be so missed by the seniors. She's done a wonderful job, and we're very, very grateful to have her for as long as we did. But we were unable to meet her needs for more hours and a higher rate of pay. And at present, we have Q Cutler in transportation, full-time. Jill Johnson is 25 hours as an administrative assistant, and Jenny Gerbis, who is paid out of the formula grants, for 20 hours per week. We have some lag money, so for the rest, so while that lasts, Jenny's been doing 25. And myself, a full-time. We are in the process of writing a job description and hoping we can get somebody. I met with Tricia yesterday, so hoping we can get someone to replace Nancy. Because if we didn't, we wouldn't have been able to do the fuel assistance this year. The biggest problem that we face is the fuel assistance, which runs from October to April and serves the entire town, not just seniors. We do families. Senior application, with the seniors, when they come in to do an application, it can take up to 2 hours to complete, and families at least half of that time. Then there is a constant back and forth of documents that was forgotten in the beginning and must be sent before the application then can be complete. Last year we did 110 applications. The other issue we have in the fall at the same time are insurance changes, which are allowed for seniors only once a year. This is a period of year that seniors can change their insurance. Although we do have a Shine volunteer 2 afternoons a week for the first 2 months. Social services coordinators coordinates appointments, and because of time restraints, often has to see the senior at a time that is more convenient for them. So it doesn't let them off the hook. They're still doing it. We have lots and lots of seniors, not to mention that all year long we have people in the town who are just turning 65 who are coming in and saying, okay, we need you to help us find the best Medicare and the best plan for us. How do we do that, and where do we go? That takes time, it takes information, it takes staff time, and we do that as well. The new programs, some of them have been off for the summer. We have volunteers, we use them whenever we can, but we can't use volunteers for social services. We have to follow the HIPAA rules. This has to be done, and there has to be confidentiality. Oftentimes, when you have a senior who walks in the door and it's the first time in his or her life that they've ever asked for anything, sitting there asking for fuel assistance and doing an application is really, really difficult for them. And we have to be sensitive to that. So, and then you have some with impairments who really, may have problems remembering, may have problems knowing, remembering what was what. So that's always an issue that is part of the staff's responsibility. We do about at least 55% of what we do in here is social services. We do an enormous amount of social services. And we don't do them just for the seniors. We have the seniors' families coming. We have the seniors' children coming. We have the transportation, what can you do for our parents? So, these are things that we coordinate every single day here, as well as running the programs and the events. And so, we are not cute. Let's put it that way. Okay, so I'll go on to programming. Programs will resume by the end of September. Arthritis and cardio have taken a break for the summer. Tai Chi is taking a 2-week vacation, first time in 6 years, and will return September 8th. Yoga and chair yoga have been going on all summer, although there is a reduction in their attendees. I have asked Tricia yesterday if I would like to use the Pier 44 for the community center. I have to put a quarter in the thing. For exercise exclusively, to do all of our exercise over there. What I want to use this building for is cognitive and for the social services. We have some really, really good programs that are really, really good for seniors cognitively. And One of them is brand new. We're having the memoir writing class is coming back. The Italian for beginners is coming back, and we have a map program that's being done by a gentleman who taught history here for 20 years, Bob Jackson, and he's been doing a program over in Marshville for about 2 years, 2 or 3 years, on maps, and he takes all the historical maps and they go over them, and he does now over in Marshville, he does maps for Marshfield, and he was asked to come here and do the maps for Scituate. And we've already, believe it or not, the word is out, and some of the Marshfield people that are taking will want to come over and do maps for Scituate. So he has 22 people in the class, and we expect that to be absolutely jammed very shortly after it starts. So we're excited about that, and that's the kind of things that we want to develop. It's part of the things we want to be doing because, you know, and we've always been limited because of what we have here. So we're going to try that to see if that helps us improve and offer more of those kind of programs. So Tricia agreed that we would be able to do the exercise over there, but we're trying to figure out the front door, because that's a problem. Right now, we have the key and staff has to run over there and open it no matter what's going on here. We were talking about that today, and I realized, and you guys went to, did you go to Duxbury with the group? Did you go to the Duxbury Senior Center? Were you? Okay, all right. Well, did they say anything about the front door, the lock that they have in the front door? Okay. Duxbury Senior Center's used all the time. It's used by different vendors, it's used by instructors, they have programs going on there, sometimes till 10 or 11 o'clock at night. And it's not feasible that staff come in and work during those hours because they can't, you know, they would have to pay them. It's just, it just can't be done. What they've done there, and Tricia's probably going to kill me, but that's okay, she won't really. But anyway, is they have a key lock in the door. So that what they do is, like Rita, who teaches knitting here, teaches knitting over there. And she goes and she puts the combination in, and the door opens. It also records what time it's there. And it's perfectly secure. They've been using it for 6 or 7 years. And that would make a lot of sense for the center. It really would. And, you know, and that way, no matter, you know, who's going in there, if, you know, somebody, the key's always a problem. I don't care whether the town's using it, whether it's a department using it. That would be a much more efficient way. And so I've got to call into Kevin.
Is it a terribly expensive item?
I don't think so. I don't think so. Do you?
No,
No.
I've put them in residences before.
What do you think about that?
But it's a great idea. In fact, I think the one that you're referring to, that you have a code, so
Yeah.
if something does go awry, they know that it was you that was
Yeah,
there, so.
yeah,
It's got a history on it, so you
Yeah.
can tell who wins it.
yeah. So, and they've been using it effectively for 6 years. So, and they use that building all the time. And, you know, so, and that's been the problem. Staff has to run over and open the door and run over and lock the door and run over. So it's been, you know, it's been a problem because we can't really afford to take the time. But we've had to in order to use the building, so. You know, and when I said that to the staff, they went, "You did what?" "We have to open that building." And then I said, "Oh, Lord, I forgot about that." And then I stopped and remembered Duxbury, so. See, my memory helps. So anyway, we're gonna have, so most of the programs are coming back. The garden club will be here. They come 4 times a year. So we're not going to do, because I've been out, we were going to do an Alzheimer's and dementia workshop and we were going to have the other, you know, the organizations come in. And they were so excited about it. It was gonna be in September. But unfortunately, we're not gonna do it in September, but I would still like to do it. We are going to have the Matter of Balance program. Seniors fall. When I was in rehab, there were 5 or 6 seniors just in that rehab alone that had been there because they fell. Seniors in this state alone, it's like $67 million it's added in medical costs for falls, just for seniors. So this is really, and as seniors get older and certainly get up in numbers, which they are every single day, we've got well over 5,000 now, probably close to 6 in this town, of an 18,000 population town. So it's going to be something that the towns need to be prepared for.
Florence, who's gonna run this program?
The
Matter of Balance.
Oh, that's going to be done by the VNA, by the Norwell VNA. They're going to come in and do it. They're going to do one in October when they do, I think it's 10 or 15 people at one time. You really can't do any more than that. And then they're going to do another one in April.
Now, do they charge the senior?
No, we have monies that were donated for an event. I do raise money, as you know, my newsletter has the ability, we do ask for donations, and we have gotten in the past 2 years about $60,000 in donations that we have put into the seniors and their needs, and also we do have fuel assistance when, you know, some seniors are not eligible for fuel assistance but still need it. We have, seniors who sometimes we end up paying a medical bill that they can't. We're having an awful problem with the hospital now because of the new admittance requirements. But, so we've been very lucky, and we have seniors who earmark monies for events, and then we have the legacy of seniors. You know, a lot of seniors will leave money to the center, not a lot, but they'll leave their in lieu of flowers, give to the senior center. So, we're trying to develop that more and more. It's not tax deductible, and that's stated, clearly that it isn't. But it's something that, unfortunately, I was a fundraiser who couldn't use my talent or my grant writing because we didn't have a 501(c) here. So, that all went to waste because you can't write a grant to a foundation without a 501(c). So, but we could do that. So we've done,
Well, it's very nice to see in the newsletter for those people who accept having their names published in the newsletter that they donated. A majority of those donors are seniors, and that's really kind of touching that whatever they can give, they do make a donation.
oh, most of them are,
Yeah.
absolutely,
Yeah.
most of them are.
So,
And, so
quite
it's
nice.
really good. We have, we now have the GATRA grant, which brings back to the town $93,000 a year, and virtually pays for all the transportation that we do here. And as of last year, we did 7,000 rides. We expect to be more than, well over that this year. And that's the other thing that, is really important, is the fact that seniors are not going to be driving once they get a certain age. And so they're going to rely more and more on the transportation. So, so that's something that, I was very, very pleased that we were able to do that. That's something that I feel secures our seniors for their transportation. Okay, we have the transportation numbers for July. And daily, and the summer's usually slow because a lot of people go away, but we had 441 daily rides. We had 83 with the Link. The Link is the program that goes out of town, Marty, and they go to anywhere from Weymouth, Plymouth, they go to Boston. We have a vendor that does the rides, the Community Action Council, and they pick the seniors up in their home, and they pick them up, and they bring them to the hospital, and they then they pick them up and bring them home. So we have a lot of seniors who are on there quite often. We have dialysis patients who come 2 or 3 times a week. They have to be on the van. And we also have people who are involved in chemotherapy who are using the van, and this allows them to get to the treatments. So it's something that we are so most towns on the South Shore cannot provide that. They have the map, which actually we wrote the grant for and don't participate in, but the map it only gives them $15,000 a year, and it's spread around 4 towns, so it doesn't go very far. But there isn't another town on the South Shore that does this, so, so we're very, to the degree that we do. So we're very happy we have that for our seniors.
Needless to say, these are life-saving services. This isn't going to the hairdresser or Shaw's. These are, life-saving services, which is pretty commendable.
We have volunteers who drive the seniors to their medical appointments, and this is a reimbursable grant, but most of them won't take any money. Most of them won't. We have one guy who drives at least once a week, and he's a senior in town, he's lived here all his life, drives at least once a week, sometimes twice. And maybe he'll call up and say, "What do you got for me?" So, and he's great, he really is, he's great. So we had 523 seniors in July. I also understand we used the center for cooling while I was out, so that was good. Once we was available all day to them, and then when the staff left, the fire department took over. So it was great that we had that availability because we have a kitchen here, and so. We have the social services for this month where she did 4 home visits, 25 office visits, at 75 telephone calls. She made 6 referrals, and she has PP after it, which means they were protection. These were, all 6 of them were protection. So, which means that we're calling out to South Shore Elder Services when we have a senior who we feel is in crisis or is in needs and who needs to have somebody come. And once we call that in, they come out within 24 hours. But we have to go to the home first to evaluate, and we do. And if it's a mental health issue, I go because that's my background, and I'm also a social worker. So, so that's also an issue. Duplicated numbers, which means people have been here before, are 106, and new people who have come for the first time are 43. So, as Nancy says, this was Nancy's last report, that it was a quiet month. And there are fewer meetings, and they're, they catching up on paperwork. So that's what we did for the month of July, and and we got through it, and thank God we were able to do what we did. And I thank the support of the town for that.
Thank you, Florence.
Okay.
Sherry is not present, so I guess we won't have a little report on the Commission for Disabilities. Do you know if there was even a meeting, Clarence?
There was a meeting.
There was.
There was a meeting. I don't know what the results were, but I do know there was a meeting.
Well, perhaps.
You know, a lot of things at those meetings, Jerry can't come back and tell us anyway because it's confidential.
And then, Richard, do you have any news for us on the master plan?
We skipped over Joan, do we do it?
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, no, John, I'm sorry.
Okay,
No,
for the South Shore Elderly Services, they had a meeting on August 6th. And the big thing was they finally passed the bylaws. And Sandra, the COA, has been working with a contract with the Quincy Medical Center. And has been working with the new board, the head there, the new person in charge, COA. We had a board training by Lynn Buckley, and it was on clinical assessment and eligibility. And she kind of told us what the staff was and job responsibilities. And it comes under Mass Health. And they're working with the nursing homes, trying to help the people who want to go home. So that was a thing that they discussed. The South Shore Elderly Picnic is going to be on August 29th at Nantasket Beach from 11 to 2. And I also want to add that St. Luke's will have their community supper on August 25th, and everyone is invited. And that's not just for seniors, that's for anybody. And then remind you
Excuse me,
that
John, what's that date for the St. Luke's supper?
August 25th, a Sunday, always a Sunday, at 5 o'clock. And then remind people that the library book sale is this Saturday and Sunday.
And this, the South Shore Elder Services picnic is open to everyone, correct?
Yeah, they can bring their relatives and whatnot. Yeah.
All right, thank you, John. So, now, Richard, do you have some news for us?
So there have been a couple of meetings since we last met of this Public Facilities Master Plan Steering Committee. And at the July 30th meeting, there were a bunch of things discussed. I'll name them in no particular order. A request was made to Patricia at that meeting, who attended, to put together some kind of a timeline or phasing, because there's a lot of confusion around what's the timing for the school, what's the timing for decisions on the library, what's the timing for decisions on gates, and not just decisions, but when the materials need to be ready to go out to be more widely communicated, how's that going to happen, when are votes coming up in town, and so hopefully that'll be forthcoming sometime soon. The last meeting, I think you might have asked me, there's another group that's been created around funding sources for all of these possible capital expenditures by the town. That's the one that Joe Norton is sitting on and other folks. So they'll be looking at things in addition to, the Massachusetts School Association, MSBA. Are there grants? Can some buildings be sold? Can things be done about economic development for the town that haven't been done yet, or things like use of the meals tax, etc. They handed out the presentation that Durkee Brown made to the Board of Selectmen, I guess a couple of weeks before that, maybe early July. Yeah. And in it is, in small scale, the drawing of what they intend, or at least so far, for the senior center.
Yeah, they have that. I got an email from Tricia today. She said that did they present something new? Did they update it?
Just the numbers.
That's it, okay.
Unless it was just today.
Yeah.
So, at some point it's appropriate would be great to sit down with the architects or somebody, if more work's gonna be done in this. You've seen the drawing.
I have. I was there at the meeting along with anyone who was a stakeholder or who was going to be using that building. So there were several of us here from different departments that were going to be, you know, placed in town hall. And everyone had input. And one of the things was, in the original plans, the kitchen was phased. I know their idea was to save as much money, but you can't, what happened was, they didn't have a kitchen in the senior center area. They had it in the middle of that floor, but you would have had to walk back and forth to pick up things, to get things, and it was just, you know, it just couldn't happen. You just couldn't do an event like that. And so that was going to be amended. So there were a couple of other things too that they were going to amend, and I think Rec too had some issues in terms of space. And they would have to speak to that, but I know that, you know, everyone that was there had, you know, was heard.
Will that plan, existing plan, or the updated version allow Meals on Wheels to go back to the senior center?
I would have to see the footage. I don't know how big the kitchen is, because right now, there's no kitchen in there.
There is on
But
this
that
drawing.
has always been a goal.
There is in that
of yours, right?
drawing.
There is for this drawing. It's-
Does it give the, see, that's the
That
thing.
has always been a goal. for
Yeah, and it has to
senior
be
center.
large, because it won't work unless it is.
Yeah, it's tough to tell from the drawing.
Yeah, and that's, so I would need to know what the footage is.
Right. The one thing I did notice is where the bathrooms are.
Yeah,
You've got to walk through the, in
I
essence,
know,
grade
and
room.
unfortunately, the bathrooms that they put in this time were not that way last time. They were in the purple, and they were only for the senior center. Those bathrooms, the green means they are for everybody that uses that floor.
Yeah, well, these are in gray, actually.
Yeah, do they, yeah.
So.
But
I
they,
guess-
so they, what they've done is, what they're trying to do is, and they've got only so much space. I mean, that is not in, you know, infinite space. It's limited in a lot of degrees, even though it looks like a lot when you start breaking it down. And what they also are looking at is cost. So what they're trying to do is make things work for everybody, and you can't. I mean, some places, I mean, it's like, you know, you can't have bathrooms that are going to be open to the public and expect seniors to use them. And, you know, not have an issue, especially if you have an event that has 100 seniors there. And they, you know, seniors go to the bathroom a lot, I hate to tell anyone, but they do. And so you've got a public bathroom, essentially a bathroom that's multi-use, and you've got 100 seniors at an event that are using their bathroom. That's not gonna fly. You're gonna have problems right before it even begins. And those are the things that, I agree with you, that they should really sit down with people, the architects, to sit down with each individual, not in a collective fashion, but in an individual fashion, and see what the demonstrated, and I'm talking about demonstrated needs. I'm not talking about I'm talking about absolutely, because I come from nonprofit, so I don't believe in spending a lot of money if you don't have to.
Right. So I correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think the purpose just yet is to get into detailed design.
Exactly.
You know, they're just trying to get ballpark.
Right.
Is this about the right amount of space?
But I don't know how you can estimate or do a finite number of what it's gonna cost if you haven't got, because you're paying, when you build, you're paying per square foot, you're in the business.
Yeah, well, the idea of what we're talking about though is, it's, I don't wanna use the word shotgun blast, but they put it together the best that they could.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's gonna be some things
Well,
that
there's
people
gonna
are
be
bringing up
another
to you.
architect that designs that, is there not?
What's that?
Is there going to be is there gonna be an architect that's given that?
Yeah, and you know, these folks also do that, and I don't know which way that'll go at this particular moment.
I don't know, I know that when we had architects, when we were taught, when we had money to look at this building at one point, and the board, we had architects who came in and gave us ideas, and somebody was gonna get the job of drawing the plans. Well, when they finished with the costs and what we were gonna get, which was $2 million, remember, Jim? And we were gonna have Lally columns, we were gonna end up with 200 feet less. We said, we're not gonna spend that kind of money, that's crazy, you know, it's not gonna give us anything. So what we did was, we just said, no, we're not, you know, this building is just not gonna be usable, so. But the thing was, they had to understand during that, the law stated that if they were the person who did the plans for the revision, they couldn't do the actual drawing and they couldn't be the architect for the building. I don't know, Rick was the town manager at the time, but I'm not exactly sure, but Rick was adamant that that couldn't happen. And he said it was absolutely not legal to do that. So if that's the case, then I would assume, I would bet you Dirty Brown's not gonna do the
I'm not
final
an attorney, so I
drawings.
can't really answer,
Yeah.
but I think you're probably correct. But again, back to what they've got drawn out, they're taking the spaces that they have.
Yeah,
And they're trying to do it to the best, and I do know that the kitchen that they have in there, it's not very large, but there's already been some discussion that if that could be kind of a meeting place for, you know, it could be used by other people as well, if we could do it correctly, where you have a larger kitchen.
Hmm. Well, that's what Duxbury
That was
does.
one of the
Yeah.
issues.
And,
Everybody's gonna look at
and
it.
that's what Duxbury does. I mean, Duxbury, they have weddings in Duxbury. I mean, they get a lot of money every year for the out use of that building.
The Duxbury Senior Center is one of the places that about 4 or 5 of us
What'd you think?
visited. It was gorgeous. I mean, it's probably from maybe 12, 15 years ago.
Yeah.
It was built,
It
looks very new, it's well taken care of. Their great room in which they have events and they have a divider, you know, you can split the room up somewhat, is probably several times the size of our entire senior center.
Right.
And then they've got 2 floors of multifunction rooms. The Veterans Affairs office is in the senior center.
Which I think it should
They've
be.
got a dedicated parking lot. It's a dedicated plot of land for the senior center. It's very, very nice. We also went to the Duxbury Police Station, which looks like a very wealthy town designed it and put it together without asking the occupants how it would best be used. It was impressive. A group visited Hingham Town Hall and Senior Center. Came away thinking that Hingham Senior Center was poorly designed. Too small. Inadequate parking.
Yeah.
And they don't have any more tours planned. There are still people supposed to be interviewing department heads like you, so we're not.
I have not seen the person who's
Right.
assigned to
I think they need to reassign somebody. And
Yeah,
have
because
them
I
come
have
out to
not
see
seen
you.
that person. No.
There was a lot of talk, we met again last night, at the previous meeting and last night's meeting about the purpose of this committee. And where we ended up last night was that the committee would do its best to put together a series of questions to give to Patricia, I guess the Board of Selectmen, kind of saying as citizens of the town, what are the questions we'd ask before we'd want to invest in these building projects. And so that'll probably get put together, let's say by mid-September. There's also discussion about trying to use this committee for, I think, for something that may exceed its capabilities and skill level, and for which I think there's a little bit of divergence of opinion on the part of Patricia or the Board of Selectmen. about whether the committee should get into kind of assessing options for each building. And should this one be renovated? Should it have nothing done to it? Should it be moved? And there are some people who'd like to see the committee do that. There are some who believe the committee isn't particularly well suited for that, but think that the town should, investigate maybe adding some resource to put that together so that
Once we get our answers.
when these articles come to votes, that the information is there and it's been fleshed out in a professional way.
What about the money spent on looking at the town buildings though? Wasn't there some study, money being spent on study of the buildings? Yeah.
Yeah.
So wouldn't that, I don't understand why that's not.
It's not just money. So I think money's one of the factors, and I don't think every town building that we're considering is having a fresh study of what the various options are. To take the senior center as an example, one option is refresh this space. Another option is put it in Gates. Another option is let's do an independent facility someplace else. We don't have pricing for all of those. And I think when you start looking at what are the criteria for making these kind of decisions, money is one important criteria, but others could be how many of the town citizens does this service support, or are there life safety concerns involved? And there's a whole host of things you could get into, and then I think a professional review of this, these issues would surface. So that's to be seen.
I think one of the things that, I know I've had seniors say to me a couple of times, just recently, not when they talk about, of course, they're all anxious to see what's going to happen. But one of the things that they ask is, our fundraisers, or is money going to be raised for it? I'm not opposed to that. We have $10,000 that was given to us by Jay Cashman for the purpose of a senior center. And that money is sitting in our gift account and has been there for 3 or 4 years. We did ask for permission at one time, right after the vote was taken in 2007, to start the process of fundraising or raising money for a new senior center, and we were told we couldn't. And so that's why nothing has ever been done from our perspective. And oftentimes, we will get that from the rest of the town. Well, I don't see you people raising any money. Well, we were told we couldn't raise money. So if you can't raise money, then you can't raise money. But it looks to me, and I just got it the other day from someone who was a younger person who came in, was not a senior. And it was, the library's helping themselves, and it isn't that we expect people to give us a handout. We were told that we could not raise money. So therefore, it's not that we don't want to. We were told we could not. But this is what the face of it looks like. So it's kind of disconcerting when somebody says that to you and you say, there's nothing I can do about it, I can't raise money.
And wouldn't the library have had to get permission as well?
I don't know. I have no idea.
But is the
That's a
library doing
town.
it through their, its friends, is that their foundation?
I mean, I raise money now,
Yeah.
Pam. I'm raising money now.
Yeah.
And, for the senior center. And I already do have $10,000 in there for that purpose. And was accepted. So,
But if you can't do a campaign.
no,
But they have a city foundation, Friends of the Scituate.
Friends of
Library.
the
And we
library.
used to have that here though.
yeah, but it's gone.
It's gone, yeah, so could that be reestablished? And
Well,
then-
we have looked into that, we're not getting anywhere with it. We lost our 501(c)(3). And unfortunately, it was lost because the the organization that had it had a board meeting and didn't dissolve, which would have been better for us, because we could have gotten, had somebody pick it up. But they did, somebody else came in that asked to have it. They voted them, in one night, they got it. And the person that holds it, they've done nothing with it. They've had it for at least 4 years, maybe 5. And they have never raised any money. They have not filled out any of the papers except for the first time. And they are in default, and the state isn't, we have requested the state move on it, and the state has done nothing. So, and the person that's holding it, the state, the last thing we have with the state, Pam's been doing that. And the last conversation Pam had with the state was, they said, well, it would be nice if you could work it out with that person to give it up. Well, that person is not going to give it up. And it's an old quarrel that was predecessed us, but it's an old quarrel that's still standing with that person. And so, there is no way that, that we can even negotiate, even appeal, because she's not responding. She won't answer phone calls, she won't talk to anyone on it, so it's,
Well, isn't that a cop-out by the state? I mean, what could the state do legally? I mean.
I know East Bridgewater got theirs back, and they had almost the same kind of, situation. I don't know what they did differently. I can always call there, but, we, right now, we don't have a 501(c), and, we would have to start all over again, and there would have to be an attorney doing the paperwork and the whole bit, and I think the cost of that is probably about $2,500, which is not a great deal of money. It's just getting, people to take this on as officers, so, and it's work. I did my own 501(c) back in 1980, and, with an attorney, and started my own agency. But it was a lot of work. It took about a year.
Does anybody have anything else they want to add to that?
I'm just gonna say, Richard, you guys did an amazing job as far as all the research and everything you guys did on the whole thing. And I said it at our meeting, but really, I'm very impressed.
A few people went in, from this space committee, presented at the last Board of Selectmen meeting.
Right.
I thought they did a great
They
job.
did.
Yeah, excellent.
I had I called about the update on the Gates meeting. Do you have any?
Yeah.
So they hired, the project managers. I guess they interviewed 5 different companies to be project managers for the project, the school project. And they decided on one, hired one. The only thing, which I found very interesting, was it was the same company that's been hired as project manager for the safety building. And they had to go back to make sure that that wasn't going to be an issue. And I thought, does anybody know that that somebody's been hired to, that's a pretty big thing.
Yeah, that's
And so the company will be doing both. But I thought that was interesting, so this,
I heard that last night.
Yeah. That's the first time.
you didn't know that either?
Are they receiving money?
They've been hired, I'm guessing they're not doing it for free. And they'll be project managers on both projects, but I just thought that was very interesting, that somebody had been hired for
Well,
safety building.
what I'm trying to figure out is when we really don't have a solid answer, as we talked about,
Yeah.
like November, December, how can we go forward with anything until we really know what we're doing?
Right, and I think to your point, last month you gave me that response that, it is true. In the past, we've lost things because we haven't had a plan
Yeah.
in time. So it is good that we are ready when it comes, but
But
yeah.
that means doing it.
But
all
yeah,
over.
it's
Kind of putting the
interesting
horses back in.
be hearing that. I do feel like they should be more you know, that should be at least in the paper, so people aren't blindsided by it.
What kind of, what kind of cost, what kind of money are we talking about, would you know?
And who knows, maybe.
Plan A, B, C, D.
No, for the project manager for both these sites,
Yeah.
what are they getting paid?
Well, you know what, I know at the MSBA, there's just this whole checklist and order of what has to be done and when. And so I know that this was what had to be done next, even though that the feasibility study isn't finished and they haven't recommended
Right.
what they wanna do. So I don't know if it's just,
Have somebody
I don't think they've
down.
given him money yet,
Like,
yeah,
physical
for
contract
that
signed,
particular thing, I
because you don't know
think.
what the scope is, you
Right,
don't know anything,
right.
so.
So then, yeah.
I don't wanna
And
say we
then-
don't know anything,
And
but-
the next thing now that they're gonna be working on, that committee, the Gates Committee, is hiring an architect. So, but I think it's just to have it all in line, so that when the recommendation's made, the town votes, it's all ready to go. Or maybe they make the recommendation and then these people have to do some work prior to the vote, so that people can see what the plan is. I guess maybe that would make sense, I don't know.
When they come back and say, the school's going to be here, or, you know, renovate this school, whatever we're gonna do, then we can say, okay, well, here's our plan.
Yeah. And the thing is, that they're gonna do that, what, in December? They're gonna do that plan?
Well, you know, you would think, but
And-
is it really gonna be by December?
And then it's gotta be ready to be voted on, so there's not a lot of time.
Yeah, one would
So
think,
it's
So
gonna be
yes, they
beyond,
really-
it'll be beyond town meeting.
I think it'll be very tight, if not
Yeah.
impossible, to have everything happen the way everybody wants, and the timeline,
Oh, no.
which is part why we asked for, you know, at least a starting timeline, so we were comfortable that somebody was thinking through, you know, how many months in advance do things need to get done, so, you know, you don't get to December and realize that 4 months ago you needed to decide X, Y, and Z.
Right.
At this point, kind of in the dark.
So that's all I know about the Gates Committee, those were their things.
Thank you, Sherlock. Good job. Excuse me. Okay, so, thanks, Richard, really. You've been putting a lot of work into this, I know, a lot of time, so, thank you.
So I don't have time to take minutes.
Downstairs, Richard.
No. Yeah, but you have time to write your budget.
Plus I'm treasurer.
That's right, that's right.
Okay, so, that brings us to any old business that anyone wants to bring up that hasn't been brought up already? Okay. Any new business?
If and when you have an inkling what the recruitment process will be for your possible replacement, we'd love to hear it.
I just gave my resignation yesterday to Tricia, but I know that she knew it was coming at some point because we had discussed this. But, I think that, certainly there is enough time. My advice would be, that, having worked here for 6 years and having come into this and knowing really, I come from a really strong administrative background, much larger than this. And so, knowing in terms of what is in the future for us in terms of seniors and the growth, I would say that it has to be somebody, we really should have a search committee for here. And it should be somebody who has somebody who has worked with seniors, who understands what the, what seniors are facing today, what the picture looks like today, what's gonna look like tomorrow. And that's really important to do, because, one of the things that I try to do is plan, organize. And you really have to, in order to make the best use of your time and your resources. So, but, so that, you know, you don't get overwhelmed. It's done, you know it's happening, you know what's going on, you know what you need. And so that you need, but you also need somebody who can and could understand seniors. Because when I came here, and Geraldine could tell you, and some of the seniors that have been here could tell you, I walked into a very, very sad situation. As a matter of fact, I have, because it was left in my file, the clippings from the newspaper. There was actually a war going on here for the past 5 or 6 years before I came on. There wasn't any seniors coming here. There were very, very few seniors. The building was empty all the time. The seniors had just walked away from here. They were not using any of the resources. They were just staying away. And they were very, very angry, and they felt very, very, they felt as if they were disenfranchised from a place that the seniors built. Because remember, in 1980, this place was built and refurbished in 1980 by a group of seniors who petitioned this vacant building for a senior center, and they spent their own money and raised their own money and did all the work. So this was literally their home, and they had earned it. And they just, they couldn't commit. You literally could not walk into this building without having, I mean, it just was never open. You had to have a purpose, or you couldn't come into the building. And, you know, and that was astounding to me. But this is what was going on. And so
A lot
what,
of programs were put out.
yes, and what happened was, when I came in, that was one of the first things that I had to do. I had to really come back and bring the seniors back home and have them understand that this was their place. And it took a lot, and it's constantly going on. But we have brought every single senior back and more, and it just keeps growing. And, you know, so we need someone who absolutely can understand the seniors, can respect, because the lack of respect for seniors today is astounding to me. Who can respect a senior as a senior.
We also need, as Richard said, no one can ever replace you, but we need someone who will keep going what you have started. And not let any of the programs, or not let the spirit that you've created go by the wayside. So they could hire a person who had the best administrative skills in the world, but as you said, this person has to feel strongly for the seniors. But I think this person has to keep going with the vision.
Should we ask our newly elected chair to have a conversation with Patricia about the search process? Okay.
There's more than one person to do that.
Well, why don't you and Audrey go?
Okay.
Good idea, Richard.
I mean, Tricia's real familiar with Audrey. So, Audrey Reedy.
Okay. Florence, did you want to add anything else to answer Richard's question?
No, I just, I just, as I said in my letter to Tricia, that I know that we've made gains, and I hope that's just the beginning, that it continues.
Thanks.
So, I just want to clarify, is your last day the December 20th or 24th?
It's the 20th.
20th, okay.
We're gonna have a really good Christmas party this year.
Hard time in the old town.
If you come, you will be the first time a selectman has come to any of our Christmases.
Yeah.
Pressure.
So talk about putting poor Marty on the spot. I'm really good at that, you have to watch me.
Okay, so, unless anybody else has anything that they want to add, it's too late to subtract.
Make a motion that we.
I make a motion that we adjourn.
Second.
Okay, it is
All in favor?
all in favor? She's my cue card. Okay. Aye, the meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
It's